All right, we're kind of wrapping this up, and what we do at the end, it's called You Pick.
Okay.
And it's not you.
Oh.
Somebody listening picks.
Oh, okay.
And somebody picks what we have to talk about in the last few minutes.
So for the last 10, 15 minutes, somebody listening or watching has to pick what we talk about. And it can be anything.
Well, that's scary.
These have been interesting since we started doing this.
We had one that just random questions like, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Actually, there was a study done.
No.
I get, because I do the morning show, I get a lot of random facts that come across that we use on the morning show. And yes, according to surveys, a hot dog is a sandwich. So there you go.
Yeah. I think they're wrong.
Well, you're in the minority, apparently.
Well, I've probably been in the minority of a lot of decisions. But no, this week I had one of my friends that I used to work with, Charlie. He wants to do this week's You Pick.
Okay.
And being with three people that are in radio, have been in radio, everybody in radio has radio horror stories where something just went completely off the rails.
Oh, wow.
And so he wants our radio horror stories. He's experienced a couple of them doing summer baseball.
Wow.
Start with you, Daniel. Well, and maybe yours hasn't happened because you'll be spending the night in the booth. But
yours is yet to come.
There could be an addendum to that, but I mean, I did years worth of minor league baseball where if you're on the road, sometimes the phone line works, sometimes it doesn't. We had this isn't necessarily one that happened to mess up the broadcast because there's, I'm sure, more that I could pick from there. But in Augusta, 2010, Lake Olmsted Stadium, we went there. This was either April or May, and we're probably fifth or sixth inning. Sprinklers go off in the middle of the game. Because usually those are on a timer, and they don't go off until way late in the evening. That way everybody's gone. Field gets taken care of when nobody's there. Come back. It's in good shape. So you see the groundskeeper just sprinting from the first base dugout all the way around home plate because everything's way over here on the third base side. So we sprint all the way around. And the umpires just look at him. There's only two umpires. We go back in August. It happened again. Twice in the same year. Usually you don't see that ever, but to happen twice in the same year at the same ballpark, you did the same thing. His first base dugout, and you could just see, come on. Sprint all around home plate, all the way to third base. There was a couple times that the power went out at places, and there's nothing you can do about it. We've had faulty connections, places where we thought
Michigan.
Yeah, we thought we'd be in a better position, but for whatever reason, you just have to make it work. But in terms of something that made the broadcast unique, those would be up there.
When I worked in Brunswick, I was running the stations down there, and we had the contract to do the high school football games. The Board of Education awarded the contracts, so you had to bid on them. So we were doing Brunswick High School and Glenn Academy. And they would play each other every year. And when that happens, that stadium, I don't know if you've been in the stadium they have there in Brunswick. It's a pretty good-sized stadium, and it is packed out. Well, the broadcast that we did using a Wi-Fi hotspot. Well, because of all the phones in the stadium, there wasn't enough bandwidth for us to have both stations on the air at the same time. So one would work and the other one would just be really spotty or not working at all. So what we ended up doing is taking like the Brunswick High broadcast and putting it on the Glenn Academy station so that we could have broadcast for both stations at the same time. But that was a real, I'm there at the station trying to get stuff to work because I'm not really sure why it's not working. And this is like the most important game of the year. And, and it just is crapping out because there's not enough cell signal there in the stadium to, when everybody's doing selfies and all that kind of stuff, it takes a lot of bandwidth. And so, yeah, that was a horror story for sure.
The one, and I saw whenever I said what we're going to be doing the U-Pick, I saw Aaron Soka's face light up because he knows exactly where I'm going with this one. But when we were doing the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl,
he knows the story.
Yeah, he knows where this is going to. I don't know that we've actually told this story on air, though.
We've told bits and pieces of this, but not the whole deal.
So the night before, Aaron and I had stayed back and done a basketball doubleheader, I think. And then we drove. We didn't get to Montgomery until, 3 or 4 in the morning? Central time, so I don't really know what time it was. And so we get there, and then about 8 or 9 the next morning, we get up and go to the stadium. Aaron's going to come with me, help me carry stuff in and set up. And we get there, got everything set up, and throw the headset on just to make sure everything's working. All I hear is jazz music. I'm like, there is no way on God's green earth that I'm hearing jazz music. And so I started unplugging one by one different things to see what it was that was causing the jazz music. I finally get everything unplugged. There is not anything plugged into the wall. It's just plugged into essentially dead equipment this time. I'm still hearing jazz music.
Oh, boy.
Apparently, the Camellia Bowl had given us a metal table. And apparently all of our stuff on that metal table had turned it into an antenna. And apparently within earshot of the Crampton Bowl, there's a jazz station that was coming through our headsets. A couple hours later, you walk into the booth, and it looked like our equipment cases had thrown up. Because there was stuff, it looked like a Radio Shack going out of business sale.
Yeah, at that point, I'd been here 3 years, and there were stuff on the floor I didn't know were in these boxes.
Yeah. It was all over the place. But finally, I don't remember how we
got rid of the metal table, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we got it. I don't think it ever went away.
I thought they gave us a plastic table.
We had one.
It was one of the flimsy patio kind of deals?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So finally, it never went away. It finally just got so dim that
we could drown it out with the crowd music, and then when the pregame started, it didn't matter because we couldn't hear ourselves.
Oh, but you want to talk about a not happy human. That was me that day. Aaron was just...
Yeah, and it's funny how all these relate to remote broadcast.
Right.
And all these things happen when you're not in the station, and that's when all the crazy happens.
Aaron felt so helpless because he was just sitting back and laughing because I was getting so mad, but he was just so didn't know what to do. It was awesome. It's funny looking back on it now. It wasn't funny that day.
Never work with children, animals, or remote broadcasts. We have to add one.
Well, and things have gotten simpler because back in the day, you used to have to get a dedicated phone line put into the stadium that you would use for just that one day, and it was extremely expensive to do that, but they would test it out weeks ahead of time and all that kind of stuff and made sure it works. Now things are simple because, you use the internet, which works all the time, right? Nobody ever has internet problems.
No. The station I worked at locally in Western Maryland, they use a Marty unit, and they would have to put an antenna up on because they would do Little League Baseball, and the backstop was right next to the press box, so they would run an antenna, and the magnet would just stick on the pole and plug it in the Marty unit. I think they still use a Marty unit.
Yeah. Well, that's, if you want it to work, that Marty unit's probably the most, solid rock thing that you can use.
That is a probably 65-year-old unit they have, and it's still like a top.
Yep.
Travis said that he and Jonathan did a high school game from the stands because the officials kicked them out of the booth.
Oh,
I think we listened to that game on the way home from somewhere.
Probably did.
Yeah, that was fun. They had a picture on Facebook of them. They had our equipment there on the bleachers laid out, and it was just a neat picture. They're sitting there amongst the fans there doing the game. So that was that was.
We ought to try that here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
try that here for Gardner Webb. We'll see if they'll let us go in the stand.
Well, you can stay in section N for one of your nights here. But that'll wrap up this week's edition of Inside Eagle Nation. Bryan, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for everything that you do for Georgia Southern.
Glad to do it. And like I said, the relationship we have going is extremely important to what I want to do with the station. So, thanks for what you guys do. Of
course.
Getting up early every Thursday to come into the stations. So I really appreciate that.
Again, 94.9 is the official flagship for Georgia Southern. You can find them on Twitter, Instagram, I hear now.
Yeah.
You can go on Facebook as well. And then East Georgia's Morning Show. Every day you'll hear from 6 to 10
Yeah.
Oh,
We're live
goodness.
from 6. Yeah, tell me about it. I live in no, seriously. I live in Hinesville. It's an hour away. So I get up at 4 in the morning. That's dedication, right? I get up at 4 in the morning to go be there at 6 to do the show.
So it's about time for you to go to bed.
My day usually ends about 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
You know,
I would say
yeah.
so.
And then I go home, and this time of year I go to bed while the sun's still up. So dedication.
I guess you'd have to.
Yeah. The sun. If you're going to get 8 hours of sleep and you do the math, that puts you in bed at 8 o'clock.
You don't even get to say good night, moon.
I do see
He'll
the
see
moon
it on the way in.
Yeah, I see the moon on the way in. It's good morning moon for me.
That's the light on the road to get you in the station.
But 6 to 10 every weekday morning, you got East Georgia's Morning Show simulcast on Eagle 94.9 and 106.5 The Borough.
Yep.
But a big part of what the local flair of Statesboro and Eagle Nation is. But really appreciate you joining us. Appreciate everybody out there listening. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast however you get your podcast. And the podcast will now be uploaded on our new YouTube channel. So here in the next couple of hours, if you're watching live, but if you're listening to this on podcast, it's probably already up. But on the YouTube channel, we'll have different clips of Bryan's interview today and the full broadcast up on the YouTube channel.
Hope you find something usable.
Oh, there's plenty.
we had to. Well, our trial run was some about Media Day, cutting up all the coaches' interviews.
Yeah,
So that way we could make sure it was all worth the response has been really good so far. If you can, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Georgia Southern Sports Network. All you have to do is search that, and that'll be where our exclusive content goes from this year going forward.
So for Bryan Steele and the voice of the Eagles, Danny Reed, this is Colin Lacy saying so long, everybody.
You've been listening to Inside Eagle Nation, powered by Learfield, the official podcast of Georgia Southern Athletics.